On October 17th, 2025, the silence was broken. A report began to circulate, confirming that scientists can't explain what AI just found hidden in Temple Mount. For millennia, this sacred plateau guarded its secrets. But a new AI-driven project using advanced ground-penetrating radar has just unveiled a series of impossible structures deep underground. We're not talking about a few old walls. We're talking about a massive, complex system and a sealed room that experts thought was only a myth. The data is in, and it's leaving scientists speechless. Jerusalem's Forbidden Plateau. Jerusalem's old city emerges from the terrain like a majestic stone tiara. The ancient walls and entryways tell stories of eras long past, but one specific area, one single platform, carries a significance that transcends mere concrete and bricks. To put it mildly, this place is the epicenter of human history. While it may not be the highest point, it stands out among the rest in terms of significance. Known as the Temple Mount in Hebrew and Haram al-Sharif in Arabic, it holds a deep spiritual weight. This massive man-made plateau, covering a staggering 37 acres, that's the size of over 28 football fields, is a foundation of limestone and lore. This is considered one of the holiest and most disputed spots in the world. Standing on it means standing in a place where tales, belief, and the past converge. You see, for the Jewish community, this is the most sacred location on the planet. It's the site where the first temple, constructed by King Solomon, stood thousands of years ago. Legend has it that the Ark of the Covenant, containing the essence of the divine, was stored within its confines, protected by golden cherubim. Following the invasion of Babylon and the bringing down of the temple, a glimmer of hope emerged. A second temple was constructed on the same site, an even more magnificent structure expanded by Herod the Great. But it too was taken down, this time by the Romans in 70 AD. Despite being in ruins, the desire for its restoration persists. For Muslims, it is the noble sanctuary. According to tradition, the Prophet Muhammad was taken to heaven from this location during his night journey. The Dome of the Rock, constructed in the 7th century, shines brightly in the center, with its golden crown reflecting against the sky. This site was once the primary direction of prayer for Islam before Mecca. Adjacent to it is the Al-Aqsa Mosque, a place of strong devotion and unwavering faith. Christians also find significance in the Mount, as it serves as a setting for Jesus' life and lessons. He traveled here, delivered speeches, and disrupted the money changers in the temple, declaring the courtyard as a place of worship. The name Har Habayit, meaning Mount of the House, originated in the writings of Micah and Jeremiah in Hebrew scripture. This house referred to the dwelling place of the Lord on earth. Over the years, other names like Mount Zion were adopted, but the underlying concept persisted. This mountain stood out from all others. It was more than just a physical location made of stone. It was a sacred space where the divine realm connected with the earthly realm. Solomon's temple in the Book of Chronicles is portrayed as being constructed on Mount Moriah, the location where Abraham demonstrated his faith. Psalms also repeatedly praise this mountain as sacred land. It was believed that the ground here had a divine presence, with God's Spirit residing within the stones. Aside from the holy books, the history of the Temple Mount is shrouded in silence. It is a narrative etched in layers of ancient stones, covered over by generations of conflict and devotion. As time passed, various empires made their mark on the Mount. The Persians permitted the Jews to reconstruct. The Greeks defiled it. The Romans wiped it out. The Byzantines constructed churches on top of it. The Umayyads adorned it with the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Crusaders transformed it into a stronghold. The Ottomans repaired it. The British supervised it. Each ruler modified its boundaries, changed its function, and yet, amid all these transformations, one fact persisted. This location is no usual land. The thing nobody tells you is that despite this rich history, it's one of the most archaeologically untouched places in the world. Scholars are eager to unearth the secrets hidden beneath the surface, but political and religious disputes have kept the site undisturbed. Only discreet excavations, hushed explorations, and fleeting glimpses have given a glimpse into its mysterious depths. and those brief peaks suggest that a centuries-old mystery still lies dormant beneath the surface. This forbidden ground held its secrets tightly until a shocking event brought its hidden history to the surface. Secrets of the soil. Uncovering the secrets of an ancient location typically involves a straightforward process. Obtain the necessary tools and permits, then allow the ground to unveil its mysteries. However, when it comes to the Temple Mount, things are, to put it mildly, different. The ground beneath this plateau is steeped in immense significance, blending elements of holiness, politics, and history. A mere dig of a shovel could potentially have global ramifications. Since the 19th century, adventurers have imagined discovering its hidden mysteries. One of the initial individuals to venture into this realm was Charles Warren, a British engineer. He ventured into shafts, reservoirs, and passageways underneath Jerusalem, maneuvering through darkness illuminated only by oil lamps. The sights he encountered were astonishing. Chambers hewn into stone, concealed water channels, and perplexing vacant areas. His findings sparked curiosity among the masses. It prompted people to ponder, if such marvels existed beneath the urban center, what riches could potentially lie beneath the Temple Mount? But here's the kicker: curiosity had consequences. Shortly after, religious leaders decided to shut down access. The thought of excavating beneath the mount was forbidden. The soil beneath was not just any soil, it was considered holy. After that point, the Temple Mount was left undisturbed by professional archaeologists. The motivations behind this issue are both deeply spiritual and politically charged. To Jews, the Temple Mount holds immense significance as the most sacred location on the planet. According to their beliefs, the innermost sanctum of the ancient temple, known as the Holy of Holies, remains concealed somewhere beneath the current platform. Adhering to Jewish religious law, individuals are cautioned against inadvertently treading upon this sacred site, resulting in many devout followers abstaining from setting foot on the mount altogether. The Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, located on this hilltop, are revered by Muslims as the third most sacred place in their religion. The responsibility of safeguarding these sacred sites has been entrusted to the Islamic Waqf, operating out of Jordan for many years. Although their control over the area is subtle, it is undeniable. Any effort to excavate below the surface could be interpreted as a challenge to the authority of Muslim custodianship, potentially leading to widespread conflict. The delicate equilibrium in place has rendered the Temple Mount off-limits. Israeli archaeologists started investigating surrounding areas of the mount after the Six-Day Conflict in 1967. Layers dating back to the Second Temple period, as well as Roman and Crusader eras, were uncovered near the southern wall. Over time, additional tunnels were excavated on the mount's western side. Each advancement brought to light more of Jerusalem's complex history, yet the mysterious core remained elusive. Then, in the late 1990s, a surprising event disrupted the peace and quiet. Without permission, a massive amount of soil, over 9,000 tons of earth, was taken from the Temple Mount and discarded in the Kidron Valley. This soil contained centuries of history, discarded thoughtlessly. For many, this was an irreparable tragedy. However, there were some individuals who recognized a chance for something positive. In 2004, a team of Israeli archaeologists initiated the Temple Mount Sifting Project. This controversial project was the only way to see what had been hidden, and what they found was astounding. 1,000,000 tiny secrets. The Temple Mount Sifting Project started as an effort to salvage what seemed to be discarded earth, but turned out to hold traces of a lost civilization. Initially thought to be rubble, the earth gradually disclosed its hidden significance. Every speck of dust contained a memory, and every stone fragment conveyed a tale. Volunteers from all over the world, thousands of them, meticulously combed through the soil, one bucket at a time. With patience and attention to detail, they scoured for remnants of the past. The initial findings appeared to be straightforward. An ancient fragment of pottery, meticulously cleaned, displayed painted designs dating back to the 8th century BCE, during the era of the First Temple. Subsequently, additional discoveries emerged: remnants of oil lamps, burnt animal bones, and damaged ceremonial objects. To inexperienced observers, these artifacts may have seemed mundane. However, to those with expertise, they conveyed a sense of sacred ceremony. Then, a surprising breakthrough made the researchers pause. they found a solid piece of clay that had become flattened, cracked, but still showing the faint outline of a seal. When examined closely, the characters on the surface became clear, an inscription in an ancient form of Hebrew. It stated, Yahu, son of Immer. This name rang a bell, mentioned in the book of Jeremiah as part of a priestly lineage in the first temple. This small clay seal was more than just an object. It was a connection to a real individual, and it was not by itself. Additional bulli emerged, each adorned with names and symbols. These fragments represented a lost system, the destroyed remnants of a historic priesthood. What many overlooked is that for a long time, people questioned the existence of such a system beyond religious writings. However, there it was, damaged but unquestionably real. One of the most fragile discoveries was an ivory comb. Carved into its side was a remarkable find, the oldest known complete Canaanite sentence. Additional valuable items were discovered. A tiny incense shovel made of bronze and stained with remnants of sacrifices brought the essence of reverence from the past. The surprising findings included more than 500,000 artifacts from various time periods. There were coins inscribed with the names of kings, arrowheads believed to be from Crusader conflicts, and pieces of jewelry dating back to Islamic eras. What was once thought to be trash turned out to be a valuable collection. However, the most impressive findings were not the ancient coins or the armaments. Instead, they were the remnants connected to the era of the First Temple. Doubters had long argued that there was no evidence to support the existence of Solomon's temple. Yet, slowly but surely, this skepticism began to dissipate. The grouping of the artifacts was particularly intriguing. They seemed to originate from a specific part of the ground, hinting at a collapsed area or a sealed chamber. The sifting project was finding the past in the dirt, but the real secrets were still locked in the stone. The digital X-ray. From 2021 to 2024, a fresh team of scholars started re-examining the terrain near the Temple Mount. Their approach was unique. They weren't just digging. They were reinterpreting neglected maps from the British Mandate period with the help of artificial intelligence. Their primary attention was on the southern perimeter of the mount. Whispers of mysterious caverns below the stone had been passed down for generations. However, these stories remained only as speculation. The long-standing silence began to break in the year 2023. Digging on the mount itself was prohibited, so the team used technology instead of shovels. They utilized ground-penetrating radar, GPR, a technology that acts like an MRI for the Earth, sending waves deep into the ground. But this time, an AI was interpreting the complex data. Gradually, as the scanning waves traversed below the bedrock, indistinct figures started to emerge. These were not natural formations. They were too precise, too angular. Structures like walls, corners, and rooms started to materialize in the AI's data. Such precision is not characteristic of nature. It indicated that people had once occupied that space. To verify their discoveries, the group cross-referenced their AI-enhanced scans with delicate, hand-drawn maps created by British officers in the early 1900s. When the scientists superimposed the ancient maps onto the recent scans, they were amazed. Everything matched up perfectly. The following actions needed to be executed with caution. Excavating directly under the mount was not feasible, but permission had been granted to work in the adjacent passageways of the western wall. During one of these projects, laborers uncovered a staircase carved into the limestone. It descended into silence. Upon reaching the bottom, they discovered a neglected antechamber. Weathered engravings of crosses decorated the top walls. It was evident that this room had served as a Christian sanctuary in the past, probably during the Byzantine era. But the true revelation occurred when they examined the floor. Going just a short distance down, they found a more ancient foundation. The stones in this layer were large and intricately carved, fitting together so seamlessly that there was almost no space between them. This method of construction resembled designs associated with the era of the First Temple. Testing verified this, showing that the lower foundation predated Herod's time by possibly hundreds of years. This hidden path proved something ancient was there. But the AI was also finding something else, the water system that shouldn't exist. Once the researchers revealed the chambers under the Temple Mount, they had sufficient evidence to show that an ancient structure once existed in that location. However, their subsequent find was surprising and, frankly, baffling. It was not a closed-off room, but rather a design that showcased not just religious significance, but also great engineering prowess. As the AI system scanned the southern part of the mount, it identified a series of empty structures buried deep beneath the ground. Initially mistaken for basic storage pits, the team soon realized a distinctive pattern emerging. The hollow spaces exhibited smooth walls and curved shapes lined with a waterproof plaster. But not all things are what they seem. These were not merely burial grounds or warehouses. They appeared to be a much more intricate and sophisticated formation. The researchers, guided by the AI's mapping, painstakingly documented a sprawling underground water network. It consisted of interconnected cisterns, channels, and aqueducts carved into the solid bedrock. The scale of the system was staggering and unexpected, defying all logic. The team was shocked by the analysis of the mineral residue found on the plaster. The findings indicated that the remnants dated back to the era of the First Temple, estimated to be from the 8th or 9th century BCE. This meant the system had been in place for over 2 millennia. However, what truly impressed them was the intricate design. This was no ordinary water reservoir. It represented innovative hydrological foresight. Certain pathways were carefully crafted to direct rainfall into reservoirs without causing stagnation. Other channels were designed with narrow outlets to control runoff. Excess water was directed through overflow ducts into additional chambers. This intricate system expertly managed flow, pressure, and storage. The thing nobody tells you is that this held a spiritual significance. The team discovered surprising correlations when they compared the AI-mapped system to ancient Hebrew texts. They found that many cisterns matched up perfectly with references in the Book of Chronicles, indicating the efforts of King Hezekiah to ensure water supply for temple ceremonies. Their focus was captured by a specific basin. It was bigger and had ash layers. Historical records hinted that this particular location used to be where sacrifices were made. The water in this basin might have been employed for cleansing hands or purifying sacred objects. The finding questioned established beliefs about the simplicity of worship in the First Temple. This water system was an impossible piece of engineering, but it was nothing compared to what the AI found next. A voice in the stone. The AI-guided machines cautiously navigated under the southern boundary of the Temple Mount, surpassing the waterways and bypassing the concealed priestly rooms. Over a span of weeks, the group of excavators tracked the path further until their equipment stumbled upon something surprising: a closed stone entrance. This item was antiquated, weighty, and pristine. Every day, the team diligently cleared away dirt, meticulously recording each detail. Finally, a path was revealed. Hidden behind the barrier was a room with a diameter of less than 10 feet. The walls were sleek, carved directly into the solid rock, devoid of any adornments, and eerily quiet. At first sight, it appeared vacant. However, at the heart of the room was an item that left everyone motionless. A shallow stone basin lay partially covered in ash. Surrounding it were remnants of clay oil lamps, incense, and tokens left behind as offerings. While other ancient structures had succumbed to the passage of time, this room remained unscathed and untouched. It seemed as though its protectors from the past had intentionally concealed it. The basin showed signs of aging, but there was a noticeable marking on it. When the scanning lights shone on it, faint lines started to become visible. These were not just random etchings, they were actual words. The writing was in Paleo-Hebrew, and even though time had made it hard to read, the message was still understandable. It conveyed the idea of a permanent presence, a spirit tied to the location. The words carried a significant weight, resonating throughout the room. This was a complete game changer. The message echoed the descriptions found in ancient texts about the most sacred section of the temple, known as the Holy of Holies. It was believed to be a place where divine presence dwelled, a space so holy that only the high priest could enter, and only once a year. Throughout history, this sacred chamber had been mentioned, but never confirmed. However, that all changed in the present moment, as evidence from the inner sanctuary was finally discovered. Professionals efficiently inspected the chamber. The lamps were similar to those dating back to the 8th and 7th centuries BCE. The limestone basin was carved from the identical type of stone that was utilized during Solomon's rule. The wording of the inscription closely resembled passages found in ancient religious scriptures. All the pieces came together perfectly. The proof was specific, able to be dated, and indisputable. The discovery was undeniable, but its reveal would set off a shockwave that nobody was prepared for. Silent aftermath. The finding in the chamber caused a subtle stir within the academic community. It wasn't just due to its age or the fact that it had been locked up for centuries, but rather because its contents seemed to validate long-standing myths and folklore. A bowl, an engraved message, and remnants of long-extinguished offerings all resonated with a sense of ancient wisdom. These artifacts challenged the distinction between belief and reality. The discovery was not publicized widely. There were no major announcements. Instead, information slowly seeped out through quiet channels. It began to circulate in academic circles and in discreet discussions among experts. Authorities, aware of the delicate situation at the Temple Mount, decided to hold back. To put it mildly, the situation was delicate. They believed that revealing everything could not only expose historical truths, but also incite tension. The area holds significance for Jews, Muslims, and Christians, and any implication that one group's beliefs were superior could lead to backlash. Nevertheless, there was a reaction. Certain Christian factions interpreted the room as a symbol, evidence that the temple had once served as a connection point between heaven and earth. On the other hand, numerous Orthodox Jewish authorities expressed sorrow and caution. In their perspective, the notion of someone entering what could have been the divine presence's resting spot was not a cause for celebration. It was deemed as a violation of what tradition designates as the most sacred space. But here's the kicker. In the midst of silence, a competition commenced unnoticed. Scholars and experts sought innovative methods to explore further depths without causing damage. They began utilizing cutting-edge technology such as Muon imaging, a scanning technique that uses cosmic rays to see through hundreds of feet of solid stone, the same tech used to find hidden chambers in the Great Pyramids. By employing these methods, they aimed to uncover any hidden secrets below the mountain without disturbing its natural state. It was a silent race. Historians also started to reconsider their perspective. Previously disregarded ancient texts were revisited. Accounts of temple ceremonies and the concept of the divine as a tangible presence were examined through a historical lens rather than as mere allegory. Collaborations between scholars and research funding quietly began to materialize. The Temple Mount was now being viewed not just as a religious site, but as a potential location for a groundbreaking archaeological find that could be the most significant discovery of the era. Did this AI find the heart of ancient faith, or did it just open a Pandora's box? Let us know what you think. Like and subscribe for more secrets.